Is a government of the people the best for the people? Good question. Over time, people have rallied around democracy as the best form of government for any society. And we all understand democracy as the government of the people, for the people, and by the people, which is the most common definition of democracy as given by Abraham Lincoln. However, is democracy really the best form of government, especially for African societies? Where did the concept of democracy come from? And most importantly, how did African societies govern themselves before the introduction of democracy? Did Africans line in a queue to vote for the next ruler, or pass down leadership from father to son, or elect a group of persons to represent them? There is no single answer to all of this, as there are diverse tribes and people in Africa. So, let's explore. Let's look at the Oyo Empire, the Hausa Emirates, the Igbos, and the Ashanti Empire in West Africa. Then we move to the pharaohs of Egypt in North Africa and the Oromo people in East Africa. The Oyo Empire was ruled by a monarch called the Alaafin, but unlike most monarchs, the throne does not automatically pass from father to son. Instead, the throne rotates among different royal families, but it doesn't just rotate on its own. The Oyo Empire relied heavily on the Oyomesi, known as the kingmakers, led by Basharun, to vet the royal candidate, consult the Ifa oracle, and select the most qualified prince. This provided some form of checks and balances to the power of the monarch. Interestingly, the Oyo Empire was not the only African empire to employ this form of checks and balances. The Ashanti Empire of modern-day Ghana was ruled by a supreme leader called the Asante Hene or king, but his power was not absolute. A fascinating part of their government was the role of the Asante Hema or Queen Mother. In his matrilineal society, she was the kingmaker who held the sole power to nominate the next king. Interestingly, the empire featured a highly accessible court system where citizens could appeal local rulings directly to the High Court in Kumasi, fostering general public trust and social cohesion. The Asante Hene did not rule as a tyrant. He was heavily checked by the Asante Kotoko, a legislative body of regional chiefs. Again, not democracy, but it was effective. The Hausas in Nigeria are not left out of this system of checks and balances. Ruled by an emir with the help of a council of titled officials like the Waziri, the Madawaki, Galadima, Sarkin, Fada, etc., the next emir is chosen through a formal kingmakers council. Similar to the Oyo Empire, the crown moved between competing lineages of the royal family. Princes who have already proven themselves as capable district heads or palace administrators were highly favored. Additionally, the Emirate system shared similarities with the modern-day federal system of government. While federalism has 3 levels of government, the federal, the state, and the local government, the emir and his council ruled at the top federal. Then, they had district, ruled by an appointed official called the Hakimi. Then, the districts were further broken down into villages, overseen by village heads. Then, the smallest community unit called wards, managed by a ward head. All of this under their monarchical system, no democracy. Now, the most common weakness of a monarchical system of government, as cited by modern philosophers, is the vesting of too much power on one single central figure. But these African systems skillfully carved structures of checks and balances to ensure that absolute power does not rest in one place. All the systems worked fine in developing these African societies. The Oyo Empire lasted for approximately 435 years, and it did not collapse because it did not operate democracy. The empire only fell in 1835 when the capital city, Katunga, was captured and destroyed by militant forces linked to the expanding northern Sokoto Caliphate. The Ashanti Empire lasted for 231 years, and its highly sophisticated decentralized system of government was a massive driver of economic, infrastructural, and social development. The empire operated as a confederacy of states unified under a supreme leader. They had official uniform currencies, established state-run roads. Aside from gold, they produced exquisite kente textiles until it was officially annexed as a British colony in 1902. Enough of decentralized systems. Let's take a look at societies that were run by decentralized systems. In West Africa, The Igbos operated a highly decentralized system that became a nightmare for British colonizers trying to impose indirect rule. Their society was acephalous, meaning headless, because they lacked a single king. Instead, power was shared across village assemblies, age grades, and secret societies. The Council of Elders, or Indichie, consisted of family heads presided over by the most senior elder, the Opara, who held the Ofo as a symbol of spiritual authority. They were the executive and legislative hearts of the community. To implement these laws, the age grade system took charge. Younger grades cleared roads and defended the village, while middle grades collected fines and enforced sanctions. When matters grew too heavy for the elders, the secret societies, like the masked Egugu, stepped in. Representing ancestral spirits, they acted as the judicial arm, interpreting laws with a finality that brooked no argument. Combined with wealthy Ozo title holders who wielded immense influence, the Igbo system was a masterpiece of checks and balances. And it was far more efficient for the people than the centralized control the British eventually demanded, or the democratic systems later introduced. Still on the debate of democracy versus other systems of government, let's rally back to the cradle of civilization, seeing democracy itself is celebrated as an icon of civilization. What system of government did ancient Egypt adapt as the cradle of civilization? Ancient Egypt's system of government was a highly centralized theocracy supported by a sophisticated civil bureaucracy. They were ruled by pharaohs, who had both spiritual and legal authority. For context, remember the pharaoh that oppressed the children of Egypt in the Bible. This political engine allowed Egypt to sustain itself for over 3,000 years, funding advancements in mathematics, engineering, and writing that ultimately helped it become a foundational cradle of human civilization. The core of Egyptian society relied heavily on the annual flooding of the Nile River. Under a fractured system, regional communities would fight over water rights. We can as well say democracy would have been the undoing of a society like this. Following the unification of the Upper and Lower Egypt around 3100 BCE, the central government took absolute control over water management. The state systematically designed and coordinated massive canals, dams, and irrigation systems. This maximized agricultural outputs, generated massive grain surpluses, and insulated the population against famine. Political stability was anchored in the absolute power of the monarch, Pharaoh, who was viewed not just as a king, but as a living god and intermediary between humanity and the divine. Because rebellion against the king was viewed as a direct disruption to the universe, the religious political framework created incredible national unity and a highly compliant, stable workforce over centuries. But does it mean democracy was totally alien to Africa before Europe introduced it? Let's travel back to East Africa to look at the Oromo people. The Gadaa system of the Oromo people stands as one of the most sophisticated, centuries-old indigenous systems of democratic governance in human history. From later long before the Western democratic ideals permeated East Africa, Gadaa is a holistic political, social, and economic framework. In recognition of its profound structural brilliance, UNESCO officially inscribed it as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity in 2016. At its core, the system proves that complex checks, balances, and peaceful transitions of power are not exclusive to modern Western frameworks, but are deeply rooted in African tradition. The engine of the Gadaa system is its unique generational structure, which divides Oromo society into 5 distinct generation classes known as Luba. Every Oromo male enters this system at birth and progresses through successful 8-year developmental stages. Over a strict 40-year cycle, individuals undergo rigorous civic education, military training, and moral instruction. When a cohort finally completes this 40-year preparation, it takes full political control of the society. Crucially, power is held for exactly 8 years. At the end of this term, the governing class must step down during a highly celebrated transition ceremony called the Bali, handing over absolute authority to the next generation. This strict timeline effectively eliminates the rise of lifetime dictators. While power belongs to a specific generation class, day-to-day administration is executed by elected officials chosen through merit-based consensus. The chief executive is the Oromo Gadaa, the president, who serves alongside the Abadullah, military commander, and the Abbasera, chief justice. The Oromo Gadaa does not rule by decree. His powers are checked by the Chafe, a legislative parliament of elders that meets in the open air beneath the shade of the sacred order sycamore tree. The Chafe holds the power to debate policies and customary laws, and even impeach an executive who abuses his office. Furthermore, while formal political titles are held by men, Oromo women wield a parallel institutional weapon known as the Sike system. Sike acts as a powerful legal framework that protects women's rights, resolves domestic grievances, and serves as a moral check against male political overreach. Through this intricate blend of generational rotation, judicial independence, and environmental stewardship, the Gadaa system has successfully preserved Oromo's social cohesion and progress for centuries. Again, does a government have to be democratic for it to work? Should democracy be held as the standard for every society to be governed by? Socrates defined democracy as a government of chaos because he thought it was insane to have everyone involved in government, not because the people don't always know what they want, but because the perspectives of people are too diverse for any system of government to accommodate. We have studied the different systems of government in Africa before democracy. I'll leave it to you. Is democracy the one capsize fit for every society? And that will be it on today's episode of Historical Facts with Virtue Adelgane. Subscribe for more at the Diaspolitan.